A 62-gun salute at the Tower of London to mark the 66th anniversary of the Queen's accession to the throne. The Honourable Artillery Company has been firing gun salutes for nearly a century. They're important ceremonial occasions, marking state and royal anniversaries. For this salute, there are 3 guns, one firing every 10 seconds, and every detail must be perfect to make sure the army puts on a good show for the Queen and the public. Hours of rehearsals and drills have led up to this moment. So how is it done? We're going behind the scenes to reveal the crucial 24 hours of preparation before a 62-gun salute. The Honourable Artillery Company, based in the City of London, is the oldest surviving regiment in the British Army, dating back to 1537. These days, it's the second most senior regiment in the Army Reserve, drawing its members from the busy offices of the capital. It's combined with a troop of regulars, M Troop, stationed permanently at Finsbury Barracks.
Feel about 5 degrees colder.
Tonight, members of the company have left work early because they're on their way to the Tower of London for a rehearsal.
Everything is best done if it's properly practiced and everyone knows the drills. So we're just simply going down to the tower with the special escort group tonight to go through in slow time, full rehearsal of the gun salute, probably 2 or 3 times over, to make sure that everybody's familiar with exactly what needs to happen, where and when.
Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, they'll fire a 62-gun salute from Tower Wharf, as one of a series of gun salutes taking place across the country to mark the anniversary of the Queen's accession.
About half the people doing the salute tomorrow have never done a salute before. Certainly the regulars will never have done a salute at the Tower. The HAC reservists, probably many of them will have done many salutes. So it's a composite regular and reserve working together, making sure we can all work as one team, one cohesive unit.
The distance from Armoury House to the Tower is just over 2 miles, but getting there on time in London traffic is far from easy, so a little help from the police is needed.
I'll give you the mark.
Oh,
no, not yet, not yet. Keep going, keep going. Now!
oh, that's great. Wheels, hold on the wheels.
Setting up the guns is a strictly controlled procedure, from their exact placing in their firing positions to the angle of the barrel. Each member must perform their tasks quickly and correctly in a finely tuned routine that takes practice and concentration, all under the eagle eye of the regimental gunnery instructor.
Right, the guns aren't 100% central, number one. Yeah, let's pull it across so you can see an even gap there. Yeah, on either side.
Go on, let's get it pushed forward, let's get the wheels on the block. Take the handbrake off, let's get on the block. That one ready. When you lower the gun, keep the forward pressure on the wheels, otherwise the guns will not be on the block.
I'm an operations manager in a law firm. My company's quite supportive of me leaving at short notice, or doing things like this in the middle of the week.
Press back, Yep, this line in.
It can be hard to juggle sort of civilian life and military life, but if you're passionate about it, then you wouldn't do it any other way.
Shut!
Don't flap the arms like a chicken.
Everybody's always rusty at the beginning of a salute, and certainly on the practice on the night before. So we get qualified annually, so some people might have not done a salute in the last year.
Right, what we need to do now is to convert your obvious knowledge of gunnery into parade gloss.
There's lots of things to think about, and until you sort of run through a few times, there'll always be bits to be pulled up on.
Get that lid in the wagon.
There are a few things that I've had to sort of push for. Just traditionally in the regiment, there's certain things that women don't do or women, haven't done, and I've taken it upon myself to push for those things.
All right.
The rounds are fired by 3 guns, known as A sub, B sub and C sub. Each member has a number and a very specific role. Any mistakes will throw the whole rhythm into disarray. So how does it work? We asked Staff Sergeant James Hayward-Smith to show us how the gun is fired.
These are the guns that we fire down at the tower. They are L118 light guns, which are still in service in the British Army today. These particular models were made in the 1970s, and in fact this particular example was actually in the Falklands War. It's now been adapted for saluting purposes only, so it cannot be fired in a war role anymore. I'm standing by the breech. This is where the cartridge is loaded. This particular gun has a detachment of 5 personnel.
Correct.
It has a number 1 that stands to the rear of the gun. He is command and control.
Number 1. Fire!
You have a number 2 that stands where I'm standing. He is responsible for operation of the breech. A number 3 who sits in this seat and he fires the gun. A number 4 who stands here and he is the loader. He loads the actual charge. The number 5 who stands outside the trails is responsible for the passage and care of the ammunition to be fired. So that makes up the 5-men detachment for saluting purposes. In the field, it would be a 6-man detachment because you'd have 2 people working on the ammunition at the same time. Blank ammunition is given to us in just the form of a brass cartridge. This particular example is just one that we use for rehearsals, but it looks very similar to this. Inside, there would be a gunpowder charge. We fire a 6-ounce blank charge down at the tower, and we are limited to only firing 6 ounces because if we fired any more than that, we would have to issue the crowd with ear defenders. The cartridge is inserted into the breech, a clenched fist is behind it, and it's rammed into the breech. When the LBM jumps, as you notice there, the number 2 grabs the LBM, standing for lever breech mechanism, and closes the breech. Once that is closed, the number 3 who sits in this seat puts his hand onto the trunnion extension up here. His hand in that position indicates to the number 1 that he knows he's in a position ready to fire the cartridge. The number 1, when he gets the appropriate order from his battery commander, transfers his hand from the trunnion extension down to the firing lever, and when told to fire, pulls the lever. The gun goes bang, and the number 2 ejects the empty cartridge. Just like that.
Depress. Steady. Steady. Leg.
One of the important things is getting timing right. And we can see here that the instructor there is telling the number 1s to get their hands up. And whenever an instruction comes through, it comes through from the battery captain or the battery commander at the back.
Detachment.
There's a ripple effect there. Sometimes you see this ripple effect going 1, 2, 3, but at other times they have to do it all together, and it's a practice art of getting everything to move together.
Yeah, it's a cartridge only unloaded, in other words, it's a live one.
Correct.
All right, you just killed all your muckers, all right?
End of mission! Cease firing! Hook it!
Number 1. Cartridge only.
What's happened here is that we've reached the end of the salute. We always have to have all guns ready just in case there's a misfire and one has to fire at the last second. But if everything's gone absolutely fine, then 2 of the guns will have to unload an unfired cartridge.
Reports! Guns empty!
Empty!
2 empty!
1, 2 and 3 detachment commanders reports that 1 empty, 2 empty, 3 empty, and that means that they know that then the detachments are ready to come out of action.
While setting up and taking down the guns, or in military terms, putting them in and out of action, the hands are held to the chest. This is because the uniform they'll be wearing tomorrow, the blues, have pieces of gold cord across the chest, known as lines. The hands come up to protect the lines and prevent them getting caught in the gun's mechanism.
So far, we're at the stage where I would expect us to be for this particular ceremonial. To start with, people are always a little bit rusty, especially in a volunteer regiment like this. People are still in what you might call office mode. So now that they're switched on to green mode, I think we're in a position where I'm happy. We'll have another couple of hours rehearsal tomorrow morning just to put the parade gloss onto it, so that Her Majesty will be proud to be here herself.
Lift.
Aside from the fact that it was a bit chilly, I think it went well. It is a big event. It's not an event that we do every day. It's a big responsibility. Apart from the fact that you're the guy who says fire before anything happens on the gun, you're also responsible for the safety of everybody else on that gun. So you've got to be alert all the time.
I'm fairly confident that we'll do a good job. I'm starting to get that fuzzy, warm feeling. So after a couple of hours tomorrow, I'll let you know.
Coming up, why drilling back to back helps the number ones respond correctly to commands. And what do you do when you pull the trigger and nothing happens? How to deal with a misfire when you've only seconds to fix the problem. The Honourable Artillery Company is preparing for a 62-gun salute to mark the Queen's 66th year on the throne. They're up early this morning for a final run-through before heading down to the Tower of London. Most of the company are volunteers who don't get regularly drilled with these guns. And for some, this is their first gun salute, so it's vital that every detail is practised and practised again.
Well done, sir.
We're doing a rehearsal again this morning. We'll finish that, depending on how it goes, around 9:30, 9:45ish. Give the blokes a break. They'll go and grab a brew. Then about 10 o'clock we'll break out all the ammunition, check it all. We'll do a lining up of the guns, make sure that they're all clean and spotless, everything's sorted. We'll do a final check of the firing mechanisms to make sure that all of the circuits are working correctly before we go down to the tower. We'll then go off and get changed, safety brief, and then we'll come out and we'll be on parade, ready for the master gunner at the tower to come out and inspect us.
What we're saying here is really important that the number ones act in unison, and if they can see each other, even out the corner of their eye, they'll be tending to look for each other for a cue. So what the battery sergeant major here is doing is making sure they're not looking at each other as they indicate that they've heard his command by putting their hands up. And then the point about leaning down is that's the report gun's empty when they actually come down to peer up the barrel from the back of the number one slot so they can actually see that it really is empty before reporting the fact that their gun is now clear.
Much of this morning's rehearsal will be taken up with a misfire drill. Since each gun will be fired every 30 seconds, there's not much time to find and fix a problem before your gun is called into action again.
So click, click, nothing happens. The number 3 shoots the arm up in the air, takes a glance across to the firing mech, first of all to make sure that it's not set to safe. If he's happy that it is on fire, then he shouts, check the breech.
Fire! Check breach. Breach correct!
The number 3, who's responsible for pulling the trigger, is also responsible for replacing the firing mechanism if the gun fails to go off. Because of the time pressure, they're given just 10 seconds to do this in order to be ready in time for their gun to fire again.
Fire! Go first, fire. Go first, fire.
Check the breach!
So it's vital they get the procedure correct.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and 1. Fire. Really put your shoulder behind it. Okay, you're only just making contact.
This is a role that a lot of people avoid because, if you mess up, then your gun doesn't fire. If you mess up your misfire drills, then you could potentially put your gun out of action for the rest of the salute. So it's, I wouldn't say it's like necessarily, loads of responsibility, but it's certainly have to be switched on, and therefore it's sometimes avoided. I personally love it.
Although the guns will be firing blanks, that doesn't mean they're not dangerous.
The most important thing at the tower will be that the number 4 does the proper safety check, looking up the barrel to make sure he can see daylight, and that if there's any obstruction in there, any burning material or whatever, he uses his gloved hand to clear it out, because firing blank is much more dangerous than firing live, simply because you put a projectile in with live and then you put the explosive in behind it, and the projectile isolates the explosive from anything in the barrel. With a blank round, you're putting the explosive straight into the barrel. Any burning embers that fall on it could set the charge off. So that's my biggest concern, is safety.
Report! Guns empty!
We've just been rehearsing drills, getting all of our foot drill and gun drill polished to within an inch of its life, I'd say. Subsequent to that, we've got to get the gun ready, clean it, polish it, get the ammo ready, and then it's kit after that.
So we're just unboxing the ammunition, checking it's all blank, obviously, making sure all the cruciforms are on correctly and that they're all lined up in the right way, and that each gun has the right number of rounds and a spare round in case there's a misfire.
So this was attached to the cap, because obviously in the old days we'd be on horse. So it's just a matter of sort of trying to keep everything in place. So these are called the lines, and that's why we do that, even though we're actually holding the lines when we run into position, because the idea is we're meant to be holding one into place. This is a bit of an art. I've done this for years, but each time you forget, because you only do a gun salute maybe once or twice a year, something like that.
The uniforms are perfect, the drills are complete, the guns have been cleaned and the ammunition checked. It's time for a final inspection by the Tower of London's master gunner, before the police escort arrives to take them to Tower Wharf.
We're now at the stage where we're ready for the gun salute to commence. The parade will now start. It's now up to me to hand over to the Battery Sergeant Major, the BSM, and then they will go down to the tower and start the actual salute itself.
M Troop, Honourable Artillery Company, Royal Horse Artillery, Troop, guard!
As a ceremonial, I really enjoy it because you are putting on a show. We take the guns through the city, from here at Armoury House, Finsbury Barracks, to the Tower of London, under police escort, so you feel quite important. Obviously all the traffic parts away, just if you were Her Majesty herself perhaps, going down to the tower.
I guess I do get a bit anxious that kit gets done properly, you haven't missed anything or forgotten anything.
You've got to be alert all the time. You carry a great responsibility on your shoulders.
The nerves are jangling as the company arrives at the tower. It's time to find out if the hours of drilling and preparation have made them ready for a perfect performance in front of the waiting crowd. There's a hush before the first gun fires. The salute will start exactly to time.
Come on! Come on! Fire!
Each round is carefully timed and counted. It's total concentration from everyone.
Well, I think there's an enormous sense of pride. We are charged with being the gun battery at the tower, and we've been doing it since about 1928, I think. And I think it's a great honour for us to be able to do this, especially as a reserve regiment, where people come from their city jobs and we get a uniform and we train. We devote a lot of time to it. It's one of our ceremonial duties that we are charged with, and I think it's a huge amount of pride and an honour to be able to perform that at the tower. Yes.
Cease firing! Hook it!
After all those hours of drilling, polishing and preparation, the 62-gun salute takes just over 10 minutes to fire.
Everybody did their drills correctly. We fired the right number of rounds at the right time interval, finished on time. Nobody's been hurt. What more can you ask?
There's a lot of work that goes into it, and kit prep and practice and taking time out of life to do it. For me, that's the reason why I do it, is that it's sort of the feeling of pride of being able to, participate in something like this and, saluting big events for the country.
But the day's not over yet for the Honourable Artillery Company. Everything must be cleaned and stored so that it's ready the next time it's called upon to mark a moment that matters for Britain.